the majority of people ain't even gonna make the sacrifices I'm gonna make. Just being honest, right? So at this point, if your goal was not to be me, your goal is to become inspired by me to be you.
So there is a growth and desire for more sustainable foods like vegetarian, vegan, and less processing, more less processed options. How do you see your donut shop at Cloud Donut as part of this movement?
Um, Cloudy Donut, being the number one vegan shop in New York City and the only one black-owned vegan shop in New York City, I think specifically when it comes to my involvement with the movement is much more from a space of visibility as opposed to like physical product, right? So like, how can we introduce non-traditional things in a very traditional method, right? So like specifically when it comes to our people, I believe that veganism is something that has always existed in black culture, and the majority of vegans, in terms of percentage-wise, are black people. I think that now it's just now getting to um, more inside like the in like just in the hood communities, like and like being able to get there because they food desert, just being honest with you, right? So
Mhm.
like the best way to introduce people to something that's non-traditional is through a traditional medium. So like the role that we play is much more visibility as opposed to physical product. In terms of the quality of the product and like the logistics and the vending and like the people that we're going to deal with in terms of sourcing, our goal over a period of time is to directly connect with inner city farmers or like local farmers that we deal with based on locality so that we can get products from small black businesses and create and continue to allow that ecosystem to flourish. So that's how I see that for us.
To your last point there, there is often a desire in black-owned businesses. You want to keep the money in the ecosystem, doing business with other black businesses. Have you found it to be challenging, or is it important at the onset to do that when it could be a little bit more costly to keep the money in the ecosystem, or you may find vendors who can't deliver on time in some respects. There's some that may over deliver, but the prices may be too high and you can get things cheaper in other respects because other people may have more scale. So how do you think about trying to keep the money in the ecosystem and also trying to grow a business yourself?
When it comes to black consumption, support, or entrepreneurship in general, the goal is to lead with a social undertone. I mean, just to be honest with you, when black people consume products, specifically from black people, it's more than likely because they black. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
black people will buy a product, like a black person will travel from Queens to come to my donut shop in Brooklyn because they heard I was black owned. White people don't do that shit. Like white people don't go to like Neiman Marcus because it's white owned, right? They just don't do it. So I think when it comes to on the support side of things, there has to be a social undertone because when you see, and that's another thing like that our people don't really understand sometimes. Like when you're supporting a business, that means that you're going above and beyond to intentionally give a business a level of support. Meaning, like whether you're telling a friend, a family member, whether you're deciding that the prices are a little bit higher, but you're going to deal with those particular vendors. That's what support. Consumption is when businesses have things that you want, the pricing is ideal, the quality of the product is ideal, and then you begin to consume. So that's consumption. But I think like it's a duality in both of those things. I think yeah, I agree with you. Like it can be challenging. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with our people at times, but socially it can be very enriching too. So it's worth it. So I would always encourage you to spend your money specifically with black people as much as possible because it's just necessary.
How do you encourage your black vendors to uphold the standard that Cloudy Donut has? Some of them, to my earlier point, may be very well established businesses. Some of them may be getting started like you were several years ago. How can you best, position them to be able to raise their standards to meet yours?
You can't. That's all bullshit. You can't make a low quality person a quality person. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And then that's not really the tone anyway, because for me to step into their business and try to get them to elevate who they are just based off of the fact that I have a more of an elevated palate, it just won't work that way. You typically will get resistance. So like whenever we dealing with black businesses in general, we gotta meet them where they at, or don't deal with them at all. And whether that's high end or low end. Not to say someone's on the high or the low end of the
Yeah.
spectrum, but like you kind of know who you're dealing with, right? Like you don't go out on a date with somebody and just try to get them to elevate their standards. Like they should already meet your standards. So that shit is non-existent.
You talked about in previous interviews, you spending 11 years in prison and 2 years even in solitary confinement. But when you came out, you knew you wanted to start your own business, and you did. What are some of the things that you did to put yourself in a position to start a business? I think about financing, partnerships and et cetera. But some people come out and they just trying to figure out how to make sure that they can find a place to live and find a place, to work. But you just said, I want to start a business, and you did. What are the steps you took to make sure that that happened?
Well, I started a business before I went to jail. I just was breaking the law while I had a business, so I went to jail. And like for me, like I always say, I speak for the working man. I speak for the common man because it's much more of us than there are like Kevin Durant's, right? Like you're not just walking around 6'11" with a handle to pass and shoot. You know what I'm saying? So like when it comes to prison, there's a level of preparedness like there is anything else that's difficult in life. It's the same thing with young kids who go to college. They spend their time fucking around in college, then they graduate and they scrambling for a job. So I think preparedness is just something that's innately within you, whether you're in prison or whether you're in college. But what we've done, what America has done, is they placed the stigma on the black man. So the tone specifically when it comes to my story is like, oh well, he must be great because he went to prison for 11 years. I was born great. I believed in myself. My mother believed in me. I'm a champion. You know what I'm saying? I just so happened to break the law and get caught. These white boys break the law and they not considered ex-convicts. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta think about it like this, right? Like Martha Stewart went to a federal low. She went to federal prison, but that's not the title that she's gonna wear. To America and to black America, in a sense, she's gonna be Martha Stewart, the media mogul, the household name, the conglomerate, the tycoon. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to our people, they're gonna lead with me. I'm the ex-convict who so happened to have a donut shop. You know what I'm saying? So I think like the number one thing that we have to do first is have a level of empathy for the imprisoned black man and what he's gone through. Because I think the way the society position black men, specifically who come out of prison, is like, well, you must have been some sort of outlaw or outcast. So now you deserve everything that you get, and good luck when you get out of it, right? So like when you going through the system, you gotta realize that, bro, most of them guys in the system, they talented as shit. They got all kinds of. I mean, they came into prison. Like prison don't make you more talented. It's to a certain degree it can break you. You can go in prison and get sexually assaulted. You can go in prison. You can go in prison for 5 years and never come home. You can go in prison and catch a murder while you're in prison, protecting yourself, and then get 45 years. We've seen this. You can go in prison and be in solitary confinement and go crazy and hang yourself. We've seen this, right? So like when it comes to prison, prison didn't make me. As a matter of fact, prison was a roadblock on my way to success. I already knew I had it. You see what I'm saying? So like what I would encourage, people in civilization who not incarcerated, right, to do is have a level of empathy for the man that come home from prison. And then specifically when it comes to my success and how I bootstrap myself, is that I took accountability for my actions. I broke the law. I ain't gonna sit up here and say, somebody told me. A person can't tell what you don't tell them. So I went to prison. I locked in. I studied. I came home, and I knew I was going to be somebody when I came home. But I knew I was going to be somebody while I was in there and before I went there. It's just that so many people kind of caught up on like, well, damn, he went to prison for 11 years and he made something of himself. So as black people, we live vicariously, right? So we say, well, damn, my uncle locked up, my father locked up, my brother locked up, my nephew will go in and out of jail. And look at Derrick. If he did it, you can do it. That's all bullshit. Because I would have made it whether I went to prison or not. And I'm a 1%er. So like that's not the reality of the guys in prison for them to look at me and feel like that they can make it. The biggest thing that the guys in prison is need a step-by-step booklet as to how to make it, how to build and scale, the assets or the qualities that they have so that they can build a life for themselves when they come out. It's not about emulating me, but it's about the ordinary man doing extraordinary things. And that come whether you're in prison or whether you're in college.
Yeah, yeah. We've had this conversation about having a passion, growing up with a passion to do a certain type of business versus finding an opportunity and just taking advantage of that opportunity. And so often, many people in our community don't have the opportunity to be opportunistic. And when my counterparts, you see, hey, there's money over there. Let me put together this business. I may not love, donuts, or I may not love gas stations, or I may not love laundromats, but there's an opportunity there. So let's take advantage of that. We're told all too often, in my opinion, find what you're passionate about, find what you love. When you could do that too, but just find an opportunity to make some money. And I wonder, because I don't imagine that you grew up being passionate about donuts and wanting to own a donut shop, since you were a youngster. But can you talk more about how we can realize success for ourselves just in finding an opportunity in the marketplace?
Yeah. So black people need to snap the fuck out of it. That's the number one thing that we need to do, right? So for white folks, it's 2023. For black folks, it's 1923. I'm sure the headphones that we talking on, the computer that I'm looking at you in, was all created by a white man. You got up today, you picked up the white man's phone, and you drove in the white man's car, specifically maybe to the white man's building, right? So like, what we got to understand, a lot of our black businesses are very mom and pop like. So the only way that we can bootstrap ourselves is through the three S's. So like me, I always say, saving plus sacrifice equals scaling. We need to learn how to save some money as black people. Once you learn how to save $1, you can put some money away and you can build some things, right? Another thing is we can't major in minor things. So many people caught up on having their name on the front of the business that they missed the whole play, that the purpose of the business and what the value really is of having a business. You see what I'm saying? So like, when we speak on the culture and being able to take advantage of certain situations and not necessarily getting caught up what we're passionate about, but doing something that's going to bring $1 in, right? To me, that's the utmost important thing. Because in order for the world to be progressive and move forward, you need creativity, right? But in order for things to be creative, you need financing or you need economics, right? And I think like when I deal specifically with a lot of black creatives, they very lofty and up in the air as to, their product or the service that they provide the world with. And then there's a sense of entitlement with that where they're not really trying to put no real work in. Then I meet a lot of guys who are willing to put a lot of work in, but they don't understand value, so they don't get shit for the work that they put in. So I think like now, like you said, like I'm not a donut connoisseur. I'm not a pastry chef or a baker. I'm black and I want to own some shit. That's the first thing niggas gotta snap out. Like we gotta snap out of that. Like you gotta like if you black, the first thing you need to do is own some shit. I'd rather own a small house than rent a big penthouse. And I think like we need to understand like our wealth strategy and these white folks' wealth strategy is totally different. Our wealth strategy is gonna have to come from starting a small business that's gonna be supported by black people, building a robust top line for that business so that way you got disposable income, which means that you can hire more black people, and then taking that disposable income and figuring out how to invest actively. Because that's another thing. I was talking to the brother yesterday, and the conversation was, the majority of the young people in a rush to do nothing. Everybody wants to sit on their ass. You watch Instagram and you hear about passive income or NFTs and crypto, and now you run into that. That ain't even your passion. You need to sit down, figure out what it is that you like to do, put some money behind that, because you can control your destiny. The fastest way to become successful in this world is to invest in yourself. We brag on the internet about owning stocks in these white boys' companies, and that ain't gonna get you nowhere because all you basically did was give him money to further his business and he give you a dividend. It's over with. Them days are over. So now it's time for you to invest in yourself, invest in your team, invest in your man, your friend. Don't buy the Nike stock. Your homeboy got a t-shirt line. Give him $1,000. Push that because you can control the narrative. Don't buy the Apple stock. Invest in black technology. It's just time. Like black people need to snap out of it. When we pick these phones up every day, we see yachts and we see hotels across the world and vacation. We don't own none of that shit. So you go on this exotic vacation in Monaco and come right back to the apartment you sharing with your brother or your sister. Like we gotta snap out of it. So the number one thing I knew was like, yo, life real. And if I don't own some shit, I can't control my narrative. If I can't control my narrative, I'm caught up in the next man's situation. And I can't have that.
Yeah, did that. So Brooklyn Heights is 72% white. One of the wealthiest, most upscale neighborhoods in New York City. And you said I'm setting up shop here. A lot of the things you talk about have to do with the concept you talk about, reverse gentrification. Can you talk about why you decided to put your shops where you put them and the diversity and the visibility you want them to see from us?
I'm gonna break it down so you will. Black people have less than 1% of wealth in this country. Would you agree?
That's true. That's true.
That's true, right? All right. So who got the majority of the money?
And they say if you
Yeah.
want, they say
You
why would
can't say
you rob
white
the
folks.
bank? They say why rob the bank? Well, that's where the money is. That's so yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, white folk got it right. All right, so they got it right.
Yeah.
So and then I got high quality product, and white people got the money, and then white people when they consume, you got to think about how white people consume. Black people consume based off of socialism. I heard you was black owned. You might have a level of accessibility to it. I heard it was a quality product, right? White people consume off of two things, nothing personal. Is it high quality product and is it close to me?
Mm-hmm.
If so, I
Mm-hmm.
buy it all day. If I'm in the 1% and it has a low price, like a low ticket price, like $4 or $5, I'll buy it all day. It's not like they buying a Maserati. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta realize like positioning was the number one thing for me. How could I position my brand to be most successful? Not to be most socially acceptable, most successful.
Yeah.
So people saying to me, "Yo, why don't you go in a black neighborhood?" I say black neighborhood like where? Like Brownsville or like Crown Heights or Bed-Stuy. They not black neighborhoods, they white neighborhoods. White boys own them neighborhoods. Black people live there. We don't own
Wow.
anything there. We don't own the majority of no neighborhood in New York City. So they're not black neighborhoods. It's a lot of black residents in a concentrated space, right? So that won't work for me because if the income levels there are low and can't support my product, then how can I be successful? So our niche was built around our product and the price point for our product, which happens to be a $60 dozen of donuts, right? So like in that space, you would want to go to Soho, Tribeca, the West Village, Brooklyn Heights. Now we would probably go to majority black neighborhoods if we were in like Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? But people still have to
Yeah.
own those properties in those neighborhoods to me for them to be considered black neighborhoods. So us going in Brooklyn Heights was very strategic. It was about putting black faces in white spaces. When I was hustling and I was moving around, when I was living in LA and when I was in New York or DC, I always was in affluent neighborhoods and I rarely saw myself. And I knew that, so I knew it was room for me there. You know what I mean? Is how many affluent black people? Let me ask you this question, right? Affluent and successful black people, they typically got to spend their money with white folks.
Yeah, it's
When
true.
affluent
It's
and
true.
successful black people go out to eat, they don't go to a 5-star black restaurant. They don't go shop
Yeah.
at a luxury black department store. They don't. So like it's a lane just specifically for servicing that level of black people, and that's what I'm here for. I'm here for them as well.
I think that. How do you determine how much of yourself you can bring to when if you're building these in predominantly non-black neighborhoods, and as black people, it's not always easy to just be ourselves in these neighborhoods and continue to have them want to do business with us. How do you think about that? How do you bring the culture to your shops?
Specifically black people, or how do I get black people
Black
to come to the
culture.
shop?
So is it do you have to tone down the black in these neighborhoods?
Fuck no. Niggas is hard. I don't know. You ghetto as shit if you want. But black people, see, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm not speaking in general. I'm speaking on a lot of black people, right? A lot of black people are afraid of white folks. They scared because you gotta think about the indoctrinated mindset, right? The majority of black people, progressive black people, right, are out every day have a job, right? So if they got a job, the majority of them got degrees and they work for white folks. So like black people have a tendency to like kind of whisper when white people come around if they talking about white folks. But white folks really don't respect that. I'd rather know you don't like me. I'd rather know you ghetto. I just rather know, right? So you gotta realize, like, bro, I always tell people I'm not gonna be the most successful or I'm gonna be the most popular, but I'm the most fearless. So the fear comes from not owning shit. And the fear comes from being lazy and not doing the work. Like, for example, right? Think about life as a fight that you prepare for. Once you prepare, 9 times out of 10, you're not fearful. Think about a fight and you get in the ring and you don't own yourself. Someone else manages you and it's another company promoting the fight. You gotta now placate them and appeal to what they think of you. I never built a format where I had to appeal to nobody. So you gotta realize like this, my whole shit was this. I'd rather have something small that I own than something big that I don't own. Because once I got something small that I own, I can really be myself. So you gotta realize
Yeah.
in today's society, right? I'm gonna tell you the number one thing in today's society. In a world where a lot of young black people are trying to figure out who they are, the number one thing you can figure out is who you're not. You need to know that. You need to know who you're not. And a lot of people waking up every day not able to be themselves. A lot of people waking up every day having to make themselves small. And that's from a lack of ownership, a lack of entrepreneurship, and a lack of ownership more specifically. So I wasn't really interested in that. Like, to be honest with you, I like to go to the neighborhoods and be myself. And to be honest with you, they respect that more.
Mm-hmm.
Cause it's like, yo, they already know. Like, I got 30 black people that work for me who don't act nothing like you. I'm like, yeah, they do when they get off of work. They scared. They scared. And like, you don't know how many times I've been on platforms with successful people, right? Black men and women who like, yo, I wanted to say the same shit you said, but I feel you, brother. I can't say it. Well, at that point, like, what's the purpose of living?
Yeah.
For me. For me. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather make $20 and have my opinion than to make $10,000 and have to care of who I am. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that. So if you were to Google your shop or go on social media, Instagram and TikTok, whatever, there's a lot of social media from people, not even just from you guys, people being at your shop or having your product. How have you leveraged social media intentionally to generate that much attention?
Yeah, so I don't control the social media. My partner's OD2 Buff, and she controls the social media. It's crazy because like she put a lot of work into social media, so she built this up from like we started with like 7,000-8,000 followers when she came on to 50,000 followers, and it's a lot of the posts that she's put up has gone viral or had a lot of traction and things like that. And just 2 days ago somebody hacked our page, so we lost a lot of those followers on the Cloudy_Donuts, but we now on Cloudy Donut Co, which like she said, make more sense obviously. But yeah, dude hacked the page, called me talking about I got your page hacked, how much you gonna pay me? I ain't paying you shit, fuck you. Like, I'm not paying you. I built it again. I got the recipe. It's me. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta understand like this, man. When you got a recipe for success, you can get it back. I could make the mumbo sauce, spill it on the floor, and make it again. You know what I'm saying? So, in terms of social media, how she's leveraged it, she's definitely got a lot of very important and profound people in the culture into the shop. We've got a lot of great feedback when it comes to the quality of the product, because I focus on the quality of the product and she focuses on the interface, the flow of the shop. So what you think? Is anything you got to say about the shop? You know what I'm saying? All right, cool, I understand. So she controls all that, but man, I just be trying to fuck them up, man. Listen, I try to give them the best shit we could give them in the world. Like, you gotta realize I'm coming from a place where I'm my authentic self. I'm in a rich white neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? I got a pass. They could Google me. So, like, what gives me the leverage? The quality fucking product. See, black people need to understand that. Once we start leaning in the quality products, the world to a certain degree, the C parts for you. Because think about these white boys, right? Like, these white boys, when they create companies and products, right, they able to get away with murder. They do all kind of shit because they got power and influence in their own shit. Like, let me ask you a question right now. Do you think that the world is positioned for Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk to just go to jail and it's just over? All the shit they responsible for?
Yeah.
If they get pulled over or do some wild shit, man, they gonna get a slap on the wrist. How many white boys they sweep shit under the rug? Sexual assaults. There's 4,000 Catholic priests out here that have been accused of touching kids. You know what I'm saying? Just keeping it a buck, right? You know what's going on. So, like, all these white boys, when they own companies and shit, Martha Stewart, she went to jail. She able to come home, like you say. She's a tycoon. Jeffrey Epstein, he was accused of sexual assault several times over and was still considered a media mogul or a titan or a tycoon or whatever the fuck. But we don't have that space. But I'm going to tell you why we don't got the space. Because we don't own shit.
Yeah.
See, we complain about them. Listen, we complain. But we don't do what the fuck we're supposed to do. If you bootstrap yourself and you own something and you put you and your people on, you can control your narrative and you have a much bigger voice in your community, black or white. So you got to realize one thing about Cloudy. Yeah, the number one thing about Cloudy Donuts Brooklyn Heights is them white folks in Brooklyn, I'm glad that they love us and they support us, but they got to deal with me whether they love us or hate us. You got to deal with my black ass. Where I'm going, I own this shit. What you gonna do? I'm putting you on your head. See, once I own something, I'm putting you on your heels. But if I was man, listen, we didn't have people, not at this shop, but at my shops in Baltimore, right? They don't know I'm the owner. Come in like, yeah, man, hey, the black dude with the beard, yeah, he's a little rude, man. You need to get fired. Talking about me. Y'all ain't going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? So they gotta deal with us, bro. And that's the number one thing. We have to go to the table with leverage that allows them to deal with us.
So let's talk about you got multiple locations now. How did you build that capacity to be able to, because when you're specifically food service, when you're doing food service, it can be very hands-on if you didn't build it correctly. How did you build an operation that allows you to not be at an arm's length, be super close, but to be able to do it from a distance?
No, I'm hella close. I made the donuts this morning. Like, I'm close. Like, cause listen, that's another thing I want to talk about too. Like, cause people would see me and get to thinking like, oh, I could have 5 stores and be hands up. Yo, I work every day. I work. I'm gonna make it cool. I ain't even gonna try to play it up. I got the Rolexes and I'm on the yacht. I ain't doing none of that shit. I'm in there watching the donuts. I'm at the brunch, watching the brunch. Like, we misconstrue it. Like, I gave away everything to get what I got. So I always, Ray Dalio said best, you can have anything in this world you want, but you can't have everything. So I don't go on vacation. I don't got, all the extra trappings. I'm not courtside with the celebrities and shit like that. Like, I'm sitting in the spot watching them make the donuts. That's how I scale. See, like, that's what I say. And we live in a society where everybody in a race to do nothing. And I always tell people, look, a person that's sitting next to you for 2 days and think they can be you. They see you and think they can be you. That's the problem with young people. So you got a motherfucker put a headset on for 3 days. He's like, oh yeah, I don't need Will no more.
Yeah.
And forget the 20 years of work that you put in to get where you at, right? You see what I'm saying? So, like, for me to scale those locations, it really came from a place of, like, desperation. It ain't come from a happy place, Will. It came from, like, man, listen, if I don't scale this shit out, my father a dope thing. I can't go back to prison. You know what I'm saying? It came from, like, like, when I be building the stores, I don't be having a bunch of money. I be having a bunch of heart.
Yeah.
Knowing I'm going to figure it out. Yeah, y'all don't be having I'm not sitting up here caked up and jeweled up. Like, I'm in this motherfucker, like, all right, it's $200,000 for this store, but it's $50 for me to get in. Let's just focus on the $50. I get in. All right, it's $50 for me to build it out. Then another $50 and $50. And then I'm going to just keep going. I'm going to just keep digging into the shit down. Like, some of the stores taking me 2 years to build out. Because I'm building it with my own money. Like, it ain't sweet over here. It's a dog fight over here.
Yes, right.
Yeah, this ain't sweet. So, people tend to see the end result, but they don't see the process. So I scale my shit out off of, like, man, I got this one store, but I know that's not enough. I'm going to live in a studio apartment. I'm going to drive a Mini Cooper. Yeah, I don't watch TV. I don't drink, don't smoke, don't hang out. So it sound good till they get on that run with me and they fall off. This shit a real marathon. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest, I wouldn't suggest people take my path. I took a real drastic, real 1% type of road, bro. Like, I ain't gonna sit up here and lie and be like, yeah, y'all could be just like me. Man, I'm a motherfucking animal, man. The majority of people ain't even gonna make the sacrifices I'm gonna make. Just being honest, right? So at this point, if your goal was not to be me, your goal was to become inspired by me to be you.
Yeah. Did that. I like that a lot. There's a quote I read that you did in another interview where you said, you're the first, particularly to your location in Brooklyn Heights, you're the first and you're the only Black-owned shop there, but you don't want to be the last. And can you talk about what you've done and what you're passionate about doing to make sure that other Black entrepreneurs can thrive in locations that are not predominantly Black people?
Oh, man, listen to me. You thrive, to be honest with you, you're going to thrive more. Because listen to me, Black people are going to come to you wherever you at. Yo, I never forget, listen, all my locations in white neighborhoods, they just talk about it because I'm in Brooklyn now, right? I remember I told a lady, like, yo, when I opened up in Baltimore, right, I opened up in Federal Hill, and I was like, yo, I don't know where all the Black people come from every time I open. She said, Derrick, it don't matter if you open in Alaska. If you Black and some shit good, they're going to come. But white folks not gonna come. They not gonna come to Brownsville to get the donuts. So it's a super win, because if you're Black, you're needed in white neighborhoods. They want the culture there anyway. You know what it is. They steal the culture, nigga. Oh, it's a lie? Like, what are we capping? No, that's what they do. They appropriate, right? All right, it's cool. So create a medium of commerce in the middle of it. Like, you crazy? You think if I go to Tribeca right now, that blacks ain't gonna be outside? They gonna be outside looking for me and waiting on me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So more black people definitely we need more black faces in white spaces. I mean, I think that, like, even what I did in Baltimore, it ignited a whole movement where two or three other restaurateurs came behind me and got restaurants downtown in the city there. And then a buddy of mine, Q from the Good Part and Company, he did a juice bar in John Hopkins. He in John Hopkins University, predominantly affluent white university. So these things are happening. Like Jarrell's, the burger spot. He is Soho. Well, it's a black man. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just that I'm gonna tell you what be the difference. I be going to the spot and I'm a little ghetto.
Yeah.
So it's like, they be thinking like, damn, he really, you know what I mean, part of the culture. So it's like, and that's what really helped me stand out, because I'm able to bring all that culture with me.
In that same interview, I believe you talked about systems and education that you wanted to build, that you were building for other black entrepreneurs to be able to find success and thrive. Particularly when you're doing multiple locations, it's important to have those systems, like these standard operating procedures. What key things have you learned that allows your business to thrive when you're not there, that other people can implement in their businesses?
You got to get out of your emotions. The system will allow you to prevail. Invest your money in systems. They won't let you down. People will let you down all the time. Mother, brother, sister, father, they're going to let you down. They're fallible. They're people. They make mistakes. The system is the most consistent thing that will allow your brand to perpetuate. Don't get emotional about your business. People tend to say, well, I want to give my business to my son or my daughter. They don't even want to run your business. Well, I want to give it to my sister because why? Well, because that is my sister. Yeah, your shit going to be closed next year. Yeah. Black people have to understand that for us to grow our businesses, we have to withdraw all emotion. Your business is best being passed down to the person that can further the business, not maintain it and not let it go down. The person that can further the business. There's no one in my immediate family that can perpetuate my business further than I have. So therefore, I wouldn't give it to them. But what I would do is I would give it to someone who could perpetuate it and create a trust where they can benefit from it. So we gotta get out of our own way. So when it comes to systems and processes, specifically even in your day-to-day and the way in which you live your life, getting up on time, going to work early, staying late, not really watching the clock, being able to make sure that you got, a level of balancing in life, but not extreme balance, because we live in this self-care phase where people just feel like they don't got to do shit. And then that's why, they live in small studios or efficiencies with roommates, because, you feel like you ain't got to do shit. In order for us to get where we got to go, I'm talking to black people. In order for us to get where we got to go, you're going to have to work extremely hard and extremely smart. And then after you work hard and smart, you're going to have to attract people who work really hard and really smart. There's no ducking it. There's no OnlyFans in it. There's no overnight Instagram app. No, these white boys created these apps. I told Zodi the other day, listen, when they took the 50,000 followers from us, how you feel? Because I'm still me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm still a hustler. So that shit really don't matter. Don't get tied up into none of that. Put your money into yourself. Put your money into your people. Like, for example, right now, the next phase for me is I'm on the ground bootstrap VC money. Like, after I build out the donut shops and I do what I got to do, I'm real estate development. I'm looking for young black entrepreneurs who got some shit, and I'm trying to do your back. That's what's next for me. So, like, it's a lot of people that's not going to have systems and processes. So what, you going to count them out? But they got high quality product or service. Put the system and process around them and get to some money. Yeah. You know what I mean? We leaving a lot of money on the table, man. We putting all this money in the crypto, NFTs. We don't know shit about these people or what they got going on. You don't personally know this man. Like, you don't know Bill Gates personally. You don't even know if he like black people. But you keep bragging to everybody you got 20 shares of Microsoft. It's crazy.
What are some of those critical mistakes often made, particularly black-owned shops, retail, just shops, particularly not CPG or anything like that, but critical mistakes often made where we end up owning a job versus owning a business?
Okay. I say two things typically come into play. We put the product before the process. So, like, people tend to focus on... Yeah. So we put the product over the process. So a person attend to come at me and be like, yo, I make a crazy cookie. Like the cookie I make, everybody love it. My mother love it. My sister love it. I got 20,000 followers. And I say, well, how much the cookie cost to make? I don't know. Like, all right, how long do it take you to bake 2,000 cookies if you get an order? I don't really know. Like, I normally just do it for my homegirls. And now you in that space, right? I've run into so many private chefs who you get on Instagram, they got 100,000 followers and they don't got no process. They just sit in the house and create, right? So like I think about it like this because a buddy of mine told me, he said, think about the artist, right? After the artist paint the Picasso and the businessman walk up to him and say, well, how much did that cost? He typically don't know. And that's why Picasso live a life of insolvency and Warren Buffett live a life of influence. And then now how can we marry these two parties, right? How can the black businessman or the capitalist be able to see that young guy who's a party promoter or who's an artist or who's like a big graffiti artist in New York and say, yo, we can monetize this. We can add a level of commerce to this while also keeping it authentic and keeping it culturally enriching. You feel what I'm saying? So like that's the first thing they do. They put process over product. They put product over process. The second thing they do is they allow two very important emotions to get in their way: fear and ego. The fear of, if I team up with you, what is it going to do to me? Or the ego of, I can't team up with you because I'm better than you. And you don't win with neither one of those joints. In neither one of those situations, you always lose, right? So like for me, I run into it all day with black entrepreneurs where it's like, we'll reach out to somebody, right? We'll be like, yo, we notice you make really good cupcakes. We don't make cupcakes. And then it's like, they'll leave you on scene, right? Then they circle back after you get hot and you'll be like, yeah, we reached out to you 2 years ago. Yeah, I wasn't really, yeah, but you broke. You major in minor things. Yeah. Like black people focus on all the wrong shit. Like I might DM a kid. Me. I don't got no popular Instagram, 400 followers. I might DM a kid. He got 50,000 followers. He's selling wings, right? He leave me on scene. Oh, I think about it. I'm gonna see. Then next year, double back with me. You find out like, so how much money you make? Oh, I don't really, like 1,000 a week. Come on, stop playing, man. Yeah. Fear and ego. I mean, think about it like, yo, they're our biggest entertainers in the world, Hov and Puff. How they don't own shit together? I don't know. Like, think about it like, think about large groups of black men that's powerful owning shit together. That's ego. Think about small black guys who want to come up. That's fear. Like, yo, fear and ego getting away. So I always say, put process over product, eliminate your fears and your egos, you're going to get everywhere you got to go. Once you get over the good look, you get some good money. Then it's the 3 E's: education, experience, and exposure. Those things going to lead black people to be the 4th E, which is an entrepreneur. And then when it comes to your legacy, it's the 3 P's. You see what I'm saying? Preservation and protection can lead to perpetuation. It can put you in a space where you can grow something. You have to preserve and protect what it is that you have so that you can perpetuate it and further.
Yeah.
And anytime it get hard, you got the 3 S's. Saving plus sacrifice equals scaling. It will definitely put you where you need to be. Don't worry about borrowing no money. Worry about saving some money. The minute that you borrow, you're a slave to it. I didn't borrow. I didn't take out hard money loans to get real estate, all that type of shit, man. That shit, you're a slave to that shit. I'm glad I'm getting up out of those situations, and I got up out of most of them. Like, nah. So like, focus on like, yo, the biggest thing for black people to be successful, right, in anything they do, is all instilled in principles, not practices. A practice is what you sell. A principle is what you live by. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got
see,
you.
all that fly-by-night shit, that shit dead. This shit gonna take some long-standing principles like integrity, hard work, leadership skills, how not to quit, how to have some grit. Stop looking on the internet for the answers. Look in yourself. The internal work that's gonna push you to the next level. That's the answer.
Yeah, that I got it. Derrick, super appreciate you spending this time with me.